Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this site event. Very exciting one because we do have so many gender balance. So that's the good thing. We're always asking to see into the UNFCCC to reflect this one. I have the pleasure to chair these sessions. My name is Hindu Umaru Ibrahim. I'm coming from Chad. I'm one of the co-chair of International Indigenous People Forum on Climate Change, but I'm also at the executive committee of Indigenous People of Africa Coordinating Committee, who is the IPACC network, the bigger one in Africa across 24 countries with more than 135 Indigenous Peoples Organization members. We do have the interpretations because one of our speakers will speak in French. Then if you didn't collect the equipment, please, I can give you 30 seconds to collect it. But if you already do have it, we are a bit late and we can start the sessions. So I see like everyone have the interpretations equipment. Firstly, we know that how human rights and climate change is really a big issue for indigenous communities, and that is underground where people are living. And we know the impact of the climate change into the environment is not only into the trees, but it's the life of the peoples. And the mining, the companies, all these have a big impact on the life of the communities. So I have the pleasure to introduce you Ms. Agnes Lena, who is the gender representative of IPACC, who is Indigenous People of African Coordinating Committee. She's from Kenya. Then here I have Mr. Tafanswa Dakauma, sorry, maybe I do not pronounce well your name, who is from Zela organization in Zimbabwe. And in my left, Ms. Sada El Bashir from Niger. She's the chair of Tamaynut, and she's also members of Indigenous People of African Coordinating Committee. She's from Niger. To just save the times, I leave you with the wonderful speakers to let you really what they know underground about the human rights and climate change. So I have the pleasure to start by Ms. Agnes Lena from Kenya to share with us her experience briefly and how the development and human rights and climate change are linked together. Ms. Lena, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hindu. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Agnes Lena, as you may have heard, and I am from Kenya. I'm the gender coordinator of IPACC, and I'm actually excited to do a presentation that involves gender. It's my passion. I love it with all my heart. So, women voices and knowledge are essential in climate debate to uphold human rights. I wanted to start this presentation by showing a very short video, which will summarize almost what we are talking about. You will see women in Kenya speaking about the impact of wind power project that is happening. It's one of the biggest in Africa, not in Kenya, Africa. It's very new. It has another maybe 6 months to go to be completed. So this is something very new. Then somebody came from, it's in Dutch, but we are lucky to have a translator. So somebody came to do a research, and then we had an IP involved in it. And this is a very recent report. It was actually a TV series that was shown in Dutch very recently, like less than 2 months ago. So what we're showing you is very recent information. And it is how the CMDs, the clean mechanism development, are affecting people on the ground. It's a fantastic idea, but what happens to the person who is being ignored, the owner of the land, the carriers of knowledge, the women we're talking about? So I want to start with that so that then we can go ahead after that.
Okay, I will try and translate in English what will happen Oh, this is Swedish, darling. I don't speak Swedish.
Oh, it's not Swedish. It's not Dutch.
No.
Okay, who speaks Swedish in the room? But we can still go ahead anyway. Oh yeah, she speaks Swedish. It's Danish. Oh, so it's Danish.
Okay, just Agnes. Do you mind just to help maybe this summarizing what they're saying?
Maybe
Yes.
the best thing is to say it up to the end and then she can summarize the what? Ok.
Yeah, je can do that. Est-ce que la technique, on peut avoir le volume? On n'a pas le temps. Merci.
Should I summarize while?
Yes.
Let's say it the way it is.
Le volume, s'il vous plaît.
We recognize that the place has been underdeveloped for a long time. I thought that the white man would come with his company to save us. But they're coming to leave, for us to leave.
Turkana-søen her kold, læsende og øde. Det er et af de mest utrolige steder, jeg nogensinde har besøgt.
I'm going to one of the most amazing places I've ever been.
Her holder samfundets rigeste kameler. Dem, der er mindre heldige, må nøjes med geder. Og så er der dem, der må leve.
Here the community's richest have camels. The poorer ones have to make do with goats. We dry our fish on the racks, and then we put stones on it so that it doesn't fly away.
Og det her er hendes verden, beskrevet i 2 sætninger.
This is her world described in 2 sentences. These fish are our well-being.
Og det her er hendes ældre søster.
This is her older sister. I've traveled around the coast to find better well-being. I don't know if it's going to work in the long term, only God knows. At the very least, my kids aren't starving. There could be a day where we get food, but then another day where we don't get any.
Og sådan har det været i mange generationer.
And that's how it's been many generations.
Den er stort set det eneste, man kan stole på i denne rå verden.
How much money can you get from this one?
200. Okay.
Okay.
This is the country director of the Lake Turkana wind power in Kenya.
Bygges en helt anden verden op. En vindmøllepark, stor nok til at dække 15% af hele
On the other side, there's a huge project being built, covering 15% of the land.
We are building one of the largest wind farms in the world. Actually, it's the largest in Africa.
Et projekt uden sidestykke. Her var nemlig ingenting. Først skulle man skabe et økonomisk fundament, bygge 200 kilometer vej, skaffe vand, mad og arbejdere.
First, we had to build a 200-kilometer road,
for at være et af de sværest tilgængelige steder.
Find some land.
You could see it as daunting or see it as a challenge. And to be honest, I saw it as a challenge because to do something here in this area is really special.
Og det helt specielle set med vindmølleøjne er åbenlyst vinden.
And the most special seen from a windmill's perspective is the wind.
Because this extremely steady, strong wind is loading the turbines to the maximum of the technical capability, which is exactly what you want. This is the first turbine being installed.
This one.
K1, yeah. This very one.
And when was this installed?
Sorry?
When was this installed?
In March.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're moving quite quickly.
Yeah, we should be moving with, on average, 1 turbine per day.
So those are the turbines, and they are right
Vestas,
now
der
in
rejser
Kenya,
møllerne. Det
as you
største
can see.
antal, den danske vindmøllegigant nogensinde har sat op på et sted.
This is the biggest farm
Lige nu
that
står de stille.
Denmark's biggest
365
windmill corporation
drejer
has
rundt for
put
fuld
up
kraft,
on one piece of land.
skæbnepligt og udvikling.
Construction is on the way for about a year and a half now, with another year to go. So far, on time, on schedule, on budget. So we are actually quite happy about progress until today. Next, we go to one of the turbine rows, row K. Row K is actually right in the heart, in the center of the project.
They spent a lot of money
It's
actually to construct that road
6
themselves.
kilometers long, 60 turbines placed on that row, heart to heart.
And then they even made a camp, they made a swimming pool. You can see all the houses that they've made for themselves, beautiful houses.
De her 1000 ansatte, hvad der minder om en moderne by.
Here
med
there are
svømmebassin
thousands,
og det hele.
more than thousands of
Pengene kommer
people
blandt
employed.
andet Vestas, fra den danske investeringsfond for udviklingslande, fra den norske og finske regering.
People are
Men
from
formålet med
the
projektet
North,
er klart.
the Norwegian and the
business project.
Finnish governments,
We have to
as
be
well
honest,
as
I mean, it's a
employees
commercially
from
financed project.
Vestas, the
From that
Danish
perspective,
windmill company.
There has to be a return, but the project is not only about money. It is about making a difference.
So people are going around with their own lifstyles. As you can see, there's nothing that has changed. Their pastoralists, the way they've always been, nothing has been added by the project. The children have not gone to school. You can see that little girl. Women are still trekking to go and get water. I think we can go.
If I had the possibility, I would be having a little shop
Yeah, no, it's not
in
long actually.
town.
It's about 12 minutes, but we can
and then
go
take
ahead.
care of my
I think
kids.
we've already seen
It's
that.
so windy here, so it's not very good for the children.
Go ahead. Just put it ahead to see whether we can see.
Sometimes they get sick.
Okay, just put ahead to see whether.
De to søstre er faktisk
I think
vokset op
we've
med
seen
nogle
most of
bedre.
it. I wanted to see the impact in the
Masser af
village.
geder,
Just go ahead and
men i
show
denne
the villages.
mødte jeg ikke en eneste, der var glad for vindmøllerne.
So people were evicted, and you can see where they're living. I just wanted you to see this bit.
Is this the government or the company that wants us to go? If they come,
Den slags
we're going to
udmelding
fight until a bitter
bliver
end.
vejen ofte en væbnet kamp, men i første omgang bliver spørgsmålet behandlet af en domstol.
So these were the people who are displaced.
What would you do yourself if someone wanted to take your house? Would you sell it or would you just give it away?
So move again, and then you'll see the village people drinking.
Spørgsmålet er,
No, just ahead again.
Our children are also,
Yeah. So this change of lifestyle. Erosion of cultural
Adriano
values.
Lopia forsøger at leve af at sælge små ting til dem med arbejde, men ofte ender hun med at måtte sælge sig selv.
even as married women.
I would like to stop there because I think that's what I wanted to see for you guys to see is the windpipe itself. That's how it is in a nutshell. I don't even want to delve too much into it. Thank you very much for translation. Let's just clap for her. So I was thinking, even if we don't know the language that they were speaking, that it was just important for us to have a look at exactly how the development of the whole project started. It started by the eviction of the people. There was no free, prior, and informed consent. And as you can see in that film, the people who are affected is usually the women and the children. They are depending on fishing or depending on pastoralism, and there's nothing like change in anything that the company that has brought to them. Again, as I said, it's about clean development mechanism. The electricity that will be generated there does not belong to indigenous people. I have 1 minute only?
Yes.
Oh, I have only 1 minute to go, and I had so much to say. But anyway, maybe I should go straight. Somehow that has spoken. It's better that the people themselves are speaking than for me to speak. And that's why if it's possible, we get these people to come here themselves and then come and represent themselves rather than me sitting here to represent them. But somehow we have seen the villages they live in. You've seen the way the culture has been eroded, the way the land has been, that is 500,000 acres of land that has been taken by that project without their consent. And you have seen how they are all suffering. So in a nutshell, what are we saying? We're saying that within that 1 minute, I'll go straight to my recommendations. That women voices should be included in all the processes. I've talked about FPIC. And it's starting from NAPS, the National Action Plans on climate change do not include women at all. A snapshot of, just go to your own country NAPS. Just a snapshot of it will show you it's not an engendered process at all. And then the INDCs and NDCs, again, a snapshot of those just tells you that there's no process, there's no engendered process at all. Then the finances. You have seen the GFC, sorry, and then the DGM. We were doing something about DGM recently. We're having a training. There's no capacity building. That capacity building is needed on the ground, not in boardrooms in the cities. It is to those women we saw. They have no clue. You heard that man speaking and saying, what do you do? Somebody just comes and tells you move. And they were actually literally told to move out of the road, but they had no idea why they were moving. And now there's a lot of prostitution happening, drinking alcohol, you've seen. I've never even seen that can in Kenya. I don't know where it comes from. And the youth are already involved in it. They've not been employed. If we continued, you would see a small heart written, your greed, my profit. You know, and those are the realities on the ground. And that is what we're trying to fight. So those are CDMs, the clean development mechanisms. We have nothing against the CDMs. The finances have come to the governments. What we have right now in this COP is actually the implementation, maybe, of the Paris Agreement. When we talk about the implementations, there is a lot of finances. There is a lot of financing that's happening, but it's not going to the women. It is about bilateral agreements. It is the governments that are speaking. It's not the people on the ground that are speaking. And at the end of the day, that electricity will be taken to Nairobi, which is the city of Kenya. And then the Kenyans will still pay for that electricity. And those little huts you saw there will not have anything. Nothing. And yet electricity is right there below their own noses. So really, we have nothing against the CMDs, but they should involve the people on the ground. Then FPIC, free, prior, and informed. I have to end now. Free, prior, and informed consent. Nobody was informed. There was no environmental impact assessment done before the company started. And I'm not basing everything just on the company. It's in everything about UNFCCC, climate, and all these processes that we're talking about. Involve them, and especially involve the women because they suffer most. Then implementations of gender-responsive policies. If you have a policy in your country, we do have a policy in our country, involve the women. Let them be in the planning. Let them be even in the budgeting process. And I have to end there because my time has ended, but I had so much to say. I think we can discuss later or question time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Agnes. Thank you for this video showing really what's happening underground. We know that the Paris Agreement, who already entering into the force, have in his preamble, they promote respect, the right of peoples and the right of indigenous peoples and the human rights obligations, and also the right to development, right to health. And we are seeing this one, it's not putting into context at the national level, and it's showing directly how the project, the big project, who are not involving the communities and not benefiting the communities. So thank you so much to this presentation, and we think many people have examples maybe in them country to show the false solutions. So we are calling that the false solution because it's not respecting the right of the peoples, but maybe yes, it's some certain kind of solution for the climate change, but not for the peoples who need it. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Sada El-Bashir from Niger, who will share with us her experience of indigenous women Tuareg into the climate change impact. So Sada, you have the floor. Please be sure, if you are not speaking French, to have your translator.
Merci Madame Hindou, merci l'assistance. Moi, je m'en vais vous parler des femmes autochtones Touareg face aux effets des changements climatiques et des activités des sociétés minières au Niger. Donc, dans un contexte, je vais un peu rappeler le peuple Touareg. Le peuple Touareg, Imouhar, comme on dit, ou Keltamachek, sont des descendants des peuples berbères. Ils sont arrivés au Niger à partir du 9 et 10e siècle après Jésus-Christ. C'est le port du voile qui les différencie des autres berbères. Ils portent souvent l'indigo qui leur laisse la couleur sur le corps, ce qui leur vaut leur appellation d'homme bleu. Ils sont les maîtres du désert et organisent des caravanes constituées de plusieurs chameaux, 100 et même plus, et avec lesquels ils font leur commerce transsaharien. La balkanisation de l'Afrique n'a pas épargné les territoires des Imouhar. C'est pourquoi ils sont aujourd'hui répartis sur 5 pays, à savoir le Niger, l'Algérie, le Mali, la Libye et le Burkina Faso. Au Niger, ils sont éleveurs nomades et ceux qui vivent dans la montagne sont des sédentaires maraîchers. Dans cette société, les femmes jouent un rôle prépondérant car elles sont les ultimes gardiennes et gestionnaires de l'écosystème dans lequel se base la communauté pour sa survie. Elles sont en outre garantes et dépositaires du savoir traditionnel tel que la médecine de la case, la médecine traditionnelle pour les humains et pour les animaux. Grâce à elles, le patrimoine culturel se perpétue de génération en génération. Malheureusement, ces femmes sont confrontées à plusieurs problèmes, dont ceux liés aux effets insupportables des changements climatiques et de la désertification, et ceux liés à l'action humaine dont le grand mal reste et demeure l'occupation de leurs terres pastorales par les sociétés minières exploitant l'uranium et récemment des particuliers sur les sites aurifères. Auparavant, les femmes autochtones sont maîtresses de leurs espaces pastoraux, qu'elles maîtrisaient dans tous les domaines. Leur environnement était leur source de vie, du moment où elles tiraient toute leur subsistance dedans. Les animaux donnaient beaucoup de lait, des herbes nutritives poussaient à merveille, et chaque femme est en elle-même médecin dans sa case. L'eau était abondante dans les mares. Aujourd'hui, cela n'est qu'un rêve d'antan, car nos espaces sont pris en étau entre les espaces pervers des changements climatiques et les activités radioactives des sociétés minières. Les pluies déjà rares sont inégalement réparties dans le temps et dans l'espace. Souvent, le cheptel est décimé, soit par les grandes sécheresses cycliques, soit par des inondations qui n'épargnent ni les hommes ni les bétails. Le désert s'est déjà installé, ce qui a causé la dégradation de notre environnement, d'où la rareté du fourrage et du coup les herbes médicinales et nutritionnelles. Les sociétés étrangères implantées sur nos terres ne cessent de prendre du terrain, repoussant chaque fois les nomades loin de leur zone de transhumance, tout en les déviant dans leur parcours. Ceci n'est pas sans conséquence pour les femmes, car aujourd'hui, il y a beaucoup de maladies méconnues. L'eau de certains puits est polluée par les effets radioactifs des zones minières. L'accès aux soins de santé primaires demeure un problème du moment où les nomades sont obligés de partir au-delà des centres de santé créés par l'État. La majorité des enfants ne vont pas à l'école, car soit leur espace est occupé par les exploitants miniers, soit il n'y a pas de cantine à l'école, ce qui les oblige à se déplacer avec leurs parents. Tous ces problèmes rendent les femmes et les enfants vulnérables. Les femmes sont souvent contraintes d'aller vers d'autres horizons où elles espèrent trouver des conditions meilleures pour leur survie. Malheureusement, elles se retrouvent souvent confrontées à d'autres maux qui leur font barrière, à savoir la pauvreté, avec un pouvoir économique très faible, la prostitution et quelquefois la peur, car se trouvant dans un environnement qui n'est pas le leur et où la criminalité devient chaque jour monnaie courante. Et par rapport à ça, j'ai formulé des recommandations. Et nos recommandations vont à l'endroit de l'État du Niger, des Nations Unies, aux partenaires techniques et financiers du Niger et aux bailleurs de fonds. Promouvoir et protéger les droits de la femme autochtone en général. Exiger des sociétés minières, qu'elles soient nationales ou étrangères, de respecter des mesures de sauvegarde sociale et environnementale relatives aux droits des peuples autochtones, telles que définies dans la Déclaration des Nations Unies sur les droits des peuples autochtones. Promouvoir l'éducation des enfants en milieu nomade et installer des cantines scolaires pour garantir l'accès des enfants à l'école. Créer des centres d'alphabétisation pour les femmes au niveau des écoles afin que ces dernières puissent accompagner leurs enfants pour une éducation de qualité. Mener une étude pour voir comment viabiliser les villages d'attache des nomades afin de favoriser les femmes à l'accès aux soins. Accroître le problème économique des femmes par des activités génératrices de revenus, le maraîchage et la culture des plantes médicinales aux alentours des points d'eau pour leur épanouissement et leur faciliter leur prise en charge totale au niveau des centres de santé. Amener les sociétés minières à indemniser les populations déplacées et à créer d'autres infrastructures qui permettront de compenser l'abandon des centres préalablement construits sur leur zone de transhumance. Former et sensibiliser les nomades sur l'adaptation et la minimisation des effets des changements climatiques et à la résilience au niveau communautaire. Mais avant de mettre le point, j'aimerais vous poser une question, vous qui êtes là devant nous. Quelle serait à votre tour votre participation afin de nous aider à parer tous ces problèmes que les femmes autochtones rencontrent au Niger? Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah, de nous mettre le contexte de l'impact du changement climatique sur les femmes autochtones du Niger, ainsi que les compagnies minières qui les rend plutôt vulnérables. I really like the part where you are linking the right to the land, and when a company come, women do not have right to the land, and this is really a big issue for many indigenous women across Africa. And again, I come back to the Paris Agreement, who recognize the gender inside the articles, and we do have now a program on gender within the UNFCCC, but in practice, how the women are participating into the action and how the right of the women are respected, this is still a big challenge where the countries need to improve through them NDCs, and also through other development mechanism that they have inside them on villages or sub-national level and national level. So thank you so much, Sarah, to put this context. So now it's my pleasure to give, we have 1 month between all the women talking about the gender right and climate change. We think this is the gender because we cannot talk as women and defend the rights of women, but men are our fathers, our sons. So all is really the same. So it's my pleasure to introduce you again, Mr. Kafatzawa from Zimbabwe. Sorry for your name.
Can I have the laptop?
Yes. Which?
It's a PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's Zella something only. Next one on your left.
Yes.
It's Zella. Z. Next to Excel.
Oh yeah. Okay. This.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Work for an organization based in Zimbabwe called the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. So what I'm going to be talking about is about the situation that women, mainly in mining companies located in Zimbabwe, are facing, and how climate change and the mining activities are exacerbating the challenges that women in the rural communities are facing, and what actions have been taken in regards to national level of the government of Zimbabwe, what it has taken, and what us as an organization, Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association, has done to try and mitigate and address the issues that the women are facing in trying to promote the right to access of water. So we just say that water stress in Zimbabwe is now causing a double jeopardy, combined with the climate change effects and the mining activities that we're trying to promote. And necessarily you can see that in Zimbabwe, our economy is going down, but mining is one of the hearts that can actually resuscitate our economy. So we cannot do without mining. But how can we mitigate the effects that mining can cause and actually trying to promote the rights of women, especially the right to access of water? We have a new constitution which was enacted in 2013, which actually enshrines the right to adequate, clean and access to clean water. And now we also have in our constitution, our new constitution, which has actually seen that we have to break the gender environmental divide in actually in all aspects that have to do with women. There has to be a balance where we are saying, even if it's positions of power, there has to be 50-50 representation, whether it's in national bodies, whether it's in the various independent institutions. So we actually see one of the quotations that I really loved was one that says, when we actually empower a woman, the impact of that dollar that you give a woman goes far beyond the various resources that you give a man. So we actually see that there is value in actually promoting and giving resources towards the women, because he actually has, the women has a responsibility towards the children. A woman has a responsibility towards the society, and actually they have much of the responsibility that they're supposed to be undertaking. So actually, when you actually look at the interrelation that climate change has with mining, I can go next. You actually see that climate change is a scientific fact. We cannot deny that. It is real and it is upon us. But you actually have to see that climate change, as much as it is as much as it is a scientific fact, it is about it actually has a bearing on economic development. That's why I'm saying we need that mining to happen in Zimbabwe. But at the same time, also promoting economic development through mining, we should also take cognizance of the human rights aspects that can actually be violated or actually have to be balanced when we're trying to promote economic development. So we are saying women, and we're trying to promote women rights. Let's not see them as people or people who cannot act as victims to this. As one of our colleagues here has been saying, that women are not consulted. There's no free, prior, and informed consent. They do not occupy spaces of authority. But let's give them the space where they can actually show the solutions that they can actually of the current problems that they are facing. They have the mandate. They have the voices. Let's give them the space. I'm pleased to see that we have women here. I can say they're actually showcasing what their counterparts may not be able to actually say, but they have the voices and they have the capacity to say that. Now, if you actually look in Zimbabwe's mining community, we have various mines that are operating in Zimbabwe. One is the diamond mining companies that we have seen, which has just come under the spotlight of recently. But when I was growing up, I know I'm still young, but all the 20 years or so that I have been growing up, there was a mighty river called Save River. This was one river that you could not cross or you could actually see. But now, because of mining that is that regard, there's now competing of resources for that water source. Mining companies are letting out water which is contaminated, and that same water is where there's a competing use from the livestock. And then we can also see women where they used to fish, that water is now low. But why is that? It's not only because of mining, but also there's the issue of the El Nino-induced climate change drought situation. So while there are now these competing interests, how can we balance that so that in the event, everyone benefits from that event? We're not seeing, just recently in 2013, we're seeing these women. They used to be fishing, as I saw it in the other picture, but now they are making a living through repairing the dust road, which people are using to venture to connect the various cities in there. The river that I was saying that we used to grow up, that is the middle picture there. That river is completely dry. You can now literally stand in the midst of the river. But what does that also have on the impact of women? They now have to walk long distances to fetch water. They now they cannot even now have water to do their dishes or actually have clean access to clean water. But given the circumstances of what we're raising around the mining areas in Zimbabwe, we saw it's not enough to be crying foul of what the mining companies are doing or what climate change is doing to the lives of the women in that situation. So we actually say, no, even us as an organization, let's influence the policies that is going on at a national or at a district level. And now recently we can celebrate that Zimbabwe now has a draft climate policy, which actually speaks to the issues of women. If you actually see it it has a particular section that says we have to address the vulnerability and the challenges that women face as a result of climate change in Zimbabwe. Although it is still at a draft stage and still waiting to be approved, it's something that we can celebrate upon. And also we can celebrate the INDCs that Zimbabwe has submitted. Very few INDCs, if you actually try to look around them, mention the issue or try to address the issues that women are facing. But now if you actually look at specific and elaborative phrasing of the way that is done, it actually encourages that we can see that there is need to address that. But not only as these strategies have been done at a national level, we also try to address them from an CSO perspective by trying to establish women groups through registering them as common law trusts or institutions so that they have a voice where they can actually go and discuss with the various legal institutions. We have been seeing that main challenges that has been discussed in Zimbabwe is that when women go to confront or duty bearers, they say, we do not recognize you. How are you registered? What establishes you? So we've seen that is one of the mechanisms that has been working is registering them as CBOs, community-based organizations under the common law trust system. So there are women forums that have the power, that have the voice to actually say, these are the challenges that we're facing. They are going to their traditional leaders saying, Chief, you have the traditional mandate to protect us, the community. We are registered, we have the voice, so we can actually say that. But not only that, we've seen that we have a system of accountability that we've created where we enact legislatures, but the legislatures sometimes they are not in connection with their local authorities. So a facilitated legislature dialogues or community tours where they view the various impacts that they're doing upon their meeting. But not only this, we've said no, we can these community impact or the mining how it's affecting the women's rights, especially to the right of water, is not only one thing that can be centered on one community. We've extended it by creating what we call the Zimbabwe Alternative Mining Indaba, where we combine all mining communities in Zimbabwe and say, let's come and discuss. And I'm pleased that in 2016's mining Indaba, there was a declaration specifically speaking to mining and climate change issues. So these are the recommendations that I can just say to what could we do going forward in light of the Lima climate change, Lima program on gender, so that we take it forward and not only just because mentioning what's the challenges that we're facing. We have to integrate gender responsive and women empowerment in all mitigation and adaptation activities, not only to be saying we need a space to come and discuss, but we have to now implement it as we say COP22 is a COP of action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate the passion that you are talking about gender and rights for the women. So I hope that into the national level implementation, also you are getting passionate like this to implement the project involving women's concern. I mean, it's really nice that because Zimbabwe NDCs, it's one of the 24 countries who have the human right into them NDCs. Only 24 countries around all the world who have this one. But Zimbabwe is one of them who highlight it's important to have it as contest. And also Zimbabwe NDC have gender there. But as you said, the climate justice, as women, I say it's not just a 50-50. Who give the 50 for man before that women? Or who give 100% the man before and now negotiating 50 for women? So I think, don't talk about the numbers when we say we want to have gender, we can have 100% women. I mean, we can have 70% or less, but just something who can be equitable and who can work really well for the people. This is very important to see. And thanks so much for these presentations. Dear colleagues, I know that we do not have a lot of time, but we have some to get some clarification and maybe comments from our three wonderful speakers showing how the different mining and impacting their rights. And also how we can use the Paris Agreement in order to reinforce the right of women and also to reinforce the human right in general, to give this equity for the company. Yes, as they say, we need them maybe for development something, but we need the right of the peoples to become on the top of everything, and that we can get another development right. So thanks so much. Now the floor is open to who's want to speak. Yes, I have my elder here. So we can do 1, 2, 3. Technique, est-ce qu'on a le micro? Merci.
Thank you. My name is Nimo Bassi, Global Green Grants Fund. I want to thank you for the presentations, especially because there's undercurrent of mining running through the three. Recently, I was in Turkana region, so I could really see the challenge faced by the communities, especially with regard to oil extraction, which is going to commence by next year. So it's going to be compounded. But I do believe, some of us do believe that CDM cannot be, CDM itself cannot promote human rights because it's a false solution to global warming. Carbon offsetting mechanisms don't really allow for real action to be taken to limit pollution in the atmosphere, most of them. But today is 21 years since 9 Ogoni leaders were executed because they were campaigning against Shell. So today is the day of remembrance of martyrs of mining. And so I feel particularly touched that this is taking place today. So it's very significant. Now, with Ogoni land in Nigeria has been so polluted by oil pollutions that for women living in Ogoni land, even young girls are now experiencing menopause before they get to the age of 30. And life expectancy reduced to 41 years. So in terms of human rights, mining and pollution completely eliminates the possibility of enjoying life before you enjoy the rights or other liberties. So I believe that what we need to do, you're asking a question about what should we do. What I believe what we need to do is to support the movements of women in communities to stand up for their right, and then for lawyers like Zella in Zimbabwe to step up and assist these groups to ensure that the rights are not tampered with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to responding to Sada's concern. So she asked it and you really did it well. My next speaker is in the middle here, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak. And thanks for the incredible speakers you had there. I'm called Samuel now. I'm an advisor of the Global Green Grants Fund and just starting up Central Africa board of the Global Green Grants Fund. And my question is cross-cutting, is going to the three speakers. The question, all your presentations were like putting a crossroad or an intersection between women's rights and environmental justice. And the question I'm asking you is, we always hear this when we come to these type of conferences. How do we create a linkage between community level struggles with these global initiatives? What efforts are you doing at the grassroots to keep strong, the victims themselves as advocates, for their voices to be heard? I had some few proposals from your presentations. There was one, we need to bring these women here to talk for themselves. Another one said we should create women's forum. Should we, I understand you are organizations on the ground, should we go beyond that, identifying the actors of the crimes and talking to them, because it starts from policies at a different level. How do we change policy at national level? How do we change policies of the companies involved? And then how do we get globally to change these policies at the level of the Paris Agreement? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thank you for questions. Just next to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Didymus Kotiza. I'm from Zimbabwe as well. My question, I don't mean it as a criticism, is to the ladies from Kenya. Do you not have an impact assessment for any project that happens in Kenya? Environmental impact assessment, stakeholder assessment. I know in Zimbabwe, in the mining industry, this is paramount before any project can be implemented. And these social things, they have a basis for the people in the area to then request the government to do something about the project if it's not adhered to their the EIA commitments. So I've noticed this on the Red Monitor website as well. They're talking about people being kicked out of Ugandan forest and things like that, which I found strange, because surely these things will be considered by the government before anything is implemented. And I just wanted to understand what the background to that is. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much. So from the three first questions, allowed me to give back the mic to the speakers. So Agnes, you have the personal questions address. Yes. I mean, not personal, but yes, direct question address.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I just want to answer your question on EIA. It's there actually. Even the company that the Electrocana Wind Power had actually done an EIA and have a report. It's so flawed. It's actually in the internet. If you come later, I'd be able. By the way, this is public knowledge. It's not like it's hidden, because this was shown in the TV in Netherlands. So really, you should be able to access it. Just come to me. I'll give you the link. And in that link, you should also be able to get their report. If we continued with this, you would have seen women protesting. Actually, that thing is, the issue is being discussed right now in Meru law courts, and they concluded yesterday. I got information yesterday that is now been taken to the county assembly to be discussed at the county assembly. We don't know whether that's an advantage or disadvantage, but I thought the lawyers should be the ones handling this, not to be anyway. But it's there, but it's so weak. For instance, the EIA reported that the people living on the roadside, the beneficiaries of the Electrocana wind pipe, the communities living there. I come from not that area, by the way. I'm from Samburu County. So we have the Samburu, we have the Turkana, we have the Borana, and we have the Rendile. The four pastoralist communities are there. And then there are indigenous communities. And the report, the AIE report says, the EIA, sorry, there are no indigenous people living there. That's a huge lie. You've seen the villages. How can you just deny in broad daylight that there are no people living there? It's just a road. Anyway, so the EIS are there, but they are not strong. They are weak. And you have to understand, this is a bilateral agreement. It's it completely ignores the communities. The president will be given a report. We've done an EIA. He doesn't come to the ground himself to come and ask, but we feel that he should have done that, because actually it's the legal cases are going on right now. The community has actually gone to court. Then the president comes and actually launches the project. You don't launch a project before you even ask your ministers or whoever, or the county, please talk to these people and let's find out what's going on. We have a very good president and he loves indigenous people. But really we feel that, you know, something more should have been done. But right now things are at a standstill because there's a legal tussle. So yeah, there is EIA, but it's not strong, it's weak.
Thank you. There is a questions about how the linkage between the community level and the global level, and should we go beyond, and how we go beyond, what we are going to do specifically. I don't know, I give you first the floor, and if Sada wanna add on this one, go ahead.
Right. Thank you so much. I'll just add on a bit about the EIA process. EIA process is a mandatory that we're now seeing consistently in most African countries, that an EIA should be done before. But what is the main challenge that I'm seeing in the EIA process, we've been seeing this in Zimbabwe as well, is when an EIA process is done for the educated who don't really know what is supposed to be done. So it's up to us to actually go before the project or the project consultants that are given the mandate to do the EIA process, to train the community. I remember one example where a mining company has already been established, but they now need to establish a refining plant. When they advertised that in the media, we took it upon ourselves to go 2 weeks before, design a toolkit for people to understand what they should be questioning, what they should be doing, so that when those people came, they actually said, before when we came to establish the mine, this community did not have the knowledge on what to answer, what to question. But now they were now questioning inquisitive questions that even when the EIA and we go to the Environmental Management Agency, it is a public document, you can actually bring them to book. And now we've empowered the communities to say, this is the mandate, this is the EIA that they produce. Are they doing what? So we promote environmental monitors to actually monitor that what is mandated in the EIA document, they're actually enforcing it. And now to linking the global and the local people, I think it's one measure to actually bring the community voices to such events, but it is also firstly empowering them to be able to actually have the courage to actually speak their mindset. And actually, because sometimes, you know, it's some of the events, sadly, is that you may not even have interpretation of that local person. And, you know, it was already one of the challenges that we're seeing in this venue. So I think it's one of the things to get the confidence, to have the information, and actually get them to have the courage to actually stand and say, these are the challenges that we're facing. But it is not only getting them to these international levels, because, you know, sadly, you can come and bring someone like even what I'm doing. I can come and talk to you right now, but if I don't have the power or the backing or the influence to actually have the influence at a national level, it doesn't make sense. I think one of the other things is to actually have that mandate and actually have start having those grassroots level to be recognized in their local, national, geographical areas, from where then we can actually also take them to the national, to the international level to broadcast their concerns as well.
Thank you so much. Sada, do you want to add something on this one? But before that, I just wanted to tell you one of the linkage from the local to the international negotiation, who is really very magical for the local peoples who do not know what is adaptation word or what is APA, what is SABSTA, and all the things. But people are talking about them live. So this is really the gaps. So we have this publication here, and IPACC and many other organizations I know working with indigenous peoples are doing the publication where they are linking the international negotiation with what is happening underground. It's not enough, we know, for the people who do not know how to read at the community, they cannot read this one and understand this one. So this need to go underground and discuss with them, telling them in the wording that they understand what is the adaptation meaning and how it's going to impact them life if they didn't get involved during the government taking the decision onto NDCs or into adaptation program or on other issues. Dear colleagues, I'm going to leave maybe Sada, if you have something else to say. Then I'm so sorry, I apologize. I leave her also to continue the discussion with you because we still have 15 minutes to discuss, but I just have to go to the next room with the APA to link the national and the local and the negotiations, what you are asking. So I'm going to do that practically. I'm so sorry, thanks so much.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Et chez nous, je pense que depuis l'implantation de la première société, les anciens ont dû tirer des conséquences. Ils savent c'est quoi l'implantation d'une société minière dans une zone. Les jeunes ont quitté les zones rurales pour venir s'implanter dans des taudis aux alentours des villes minières. Et je pense que désormais, ce que nous voulons pour un peu supprimer le fossé entre ces sociétés et la communauté, c'est d'impliquer les peuples autochtones dans les consultations. Nous voulons participer quand il y a une société qui veut venir s'implanter chez nous. Il faut qu'on prenne part aux négociations. Il faut qu'on nous appelle pour les consultations. Il faut qu'il y ait un autre consentement préalable. Sans ça, vraiment, on n'est pas court. Je vous remercie. Agnès, prends la parole.
I don't hear French, so go. Just to add on that question, although I didn't understand what Sarah has said, but I just want to I don't know who asked that question about linking whether it makes sense for people to come and represent themselves. I really think it does. Sometimes it's better to hear from the horse's own mouth than from somebody who is coming to represent. That is why I had this film, because I felt the voice of that woman speaking, and it was translated whether by writing or something, made more sense to us than me sitting here and saying what you cannot see and conceive in your minds. Secondly, we have governments represented here, and we have side events from governments. It's easy to pick that person and take to your government event and let that person speak there while they look. It does not bring any conflict. You can still do it very diplomatically. If you could not hear me in my village, I come here and let's meet in this boardroom, and I tell you, there's nothing wrong with that. Put good energies in it, because I'm also begging for my understanding. I'm begging for my right. And if no one can listen when I am alone, then let's do it collectively. Yeah, I really feel that that lady who was speaking there needs to be here. She speaks and I translate because I understand the Samburu language. So our chair has left, so maybe we could just continue, and if other people have questions, they can continue.
Thank you very much for sharing all your experiences and the cases. What I'm wondering is whether it's specifically regarding a environmental impact assessment, or simply how human rights are impacted in these examples. What kind of legal possibilities would you have, especially now in light of the Paris Agreement?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think one thing that I think one mention that is, or one code that has been following is that let's have a separate human rights impact assessment. And it's something that has been broadening, especially from the civic society and other organizations. But I think it's it's better to also deal with what we have at the moment, that embedded within the environmental impact assessment, we can embed the human rights impact assessment rather than also running a parallel session or an initiative that we can be calling at that point in time. What's the legal recourse that you can have? I know I'll take from experience from what's happening in Zimbabwe is that an environmental access, where we actually consider that human rights was not really considered. We actually have a mandate to actually bring that we can bring it first before the Environmental Management Agency to say these considerations were not taken into account, or the human rights aspects were not taken into account. But furthermore, you actually also have the mandate within your power to actually approach a court of law, because actually one of the restrictions that we saw before the 2013 constitution was that the local standards position was restricted towards person who had a direct interest in that regard. And very few cases you see that the people who had direct access to the courts did not have the financial backing to do that. But the local standards position has been expanded. So we actually see that we can actually have cases brought for and on behalf of those communities. One instance that Zella has taken was the water pollution in one of the mining companies, where before the communities were just speaking about the challenges that they were seeing, because the environmental impact assessment was said to have been done, and was actually taken into account that it was not going to pollute the water of the communities. But when that mining company was set up, pollution was now occurring, and we had to actually get the local communities to actually stand for their human right to access to clean water by asking for an interdict, though it took long for that interdict to be given. But those are the various channels that we can see can actually take to actually ensure that the human rights aspects are taken into account.
Okay, if I may add,
yeah.
I was going to speak, but because of time, there are so many things that I did not say. I was looking at opportunities within the Paris Agreement. And one of them is acknowledging, in the preamble, the issues, gender has been acknowledged. That to me is an opportunity to hold governments accountable. So there we have an opportunity. It's just that right now, it's just a mere text. So what we need is action, action, and more action, so that these texts can now be put into some tangible activity, something that you can say, yeah, we have seen. And that's why we are all here. Then Article 7 also on adoption should be gender responsive, so that you can recognize the traditional knowledge of on adaptation, and especially because women are the knowledge holders and the nurturers of nature. So without getting out of context of your question on the legal aspect, in Kenya, for instance, we have the Kenya Human Rights Commission. It's one channel through which the community goes through. And again, the reason why I went into the opportunities that I missed a chance to speak about is because of that question. Because Article 11, again, of the Paris Agreement is talking about capacity building. That is a huge opportunity. And that is my favorite, capacity building. Without capacity building, people lack knowledge. And without knowledge, people are lost, and especially women. If you equip them with knowledge, then they are able to speak on their behalf. This community has one indigenous person who's been following UNFCCC and the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. Her name is Christiana Saiti, and Nigel and a few people here know her. She mobilized the community and built their capacity and let them know that it is possible to actually take people to court. Otherwise, people will just sit down like that lady and say, I don't know what to do. I'll just continue fishing. And then one day when my children grow up, they will come and take care of me. That's not enough. But they have self-mobilized and went to court. Unfortunately, it's a PIL case, a public interest litigation. Unfortunately, the case has been brought back to the county. That is information I got only yesterday while I was here. This is something I am going to follow up, and if possible, we even do what we call legal aid clinics, let people air up, and we have very, very kind and able lawyers in our country, and they can do it on pro bono basis. So it is still possible for as long as it's an uproar from the community, and especially they are not able to to pay legal fees. And I think that's the reason why it was taken to the county. We hope it will not get lost, but I hope I'll have another chance to be able to report to you that it was successful and the community was compensated for the land that was taken away from them. So I don't know whether anybody else has another question, or Sada, if you have something else to say. There's another question there.
Hello, thank you for good presentation from African woman. My name Tahra Hamad Maizu from Sudan. I am working as a civil society organization, human rights and legal aid, focusing climate justice, and also training people about how to deal with gender issue, gender mainstreaming, gender analysis in my country. And also a basic degree in environmental technology. How can deal with it civil society organization with collaborated with other sectors to capacity building for a stakeholder, especially women and farmer and pastoralism and like that. Thank you for your orbit.
Maybe we can take another question if there is, I don't know.
Hi, I'm Carolina. I'm from Brazil. And I heard there is a fund in Africa called AFAWA, that it's a fund for African agriculture women. And I don't know if it takes place in your country as well, or only in, I think it's Congo and other countries of the river of Congo. And do you have in your countries any plans of, I'm sorry, any projects for financing women that that work with agriculture? Because sometimes the plans are only, these kind of funds are only delegated to bigger farmers who tend to be men, and not the smallholder farmers that are the women.
Thank you.
You can start.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll start with the first question, which I was asking, how best can, if I got it correctly, how best can the civic society organizations link up? Is that right? Did I get that correctly? All right. Okay. I think one of the best thing, one of the challenge that we've been saying is when we're actually lobbying change, is that civic society organizations, we've been so divided and pushing our own agendas separately. And one thing that we've seen working is coalitions. They've been working so importantly and actually to a success. And it cannot only be coalitions at a national or at a national or regional or continental level. One, you can actually see, I know coalitions that have worked, which we're part of, is like the Publish What You Pay campaign. It has been so successful. The Arena, we actually get, you can actually also have model laws that you're actually lobbying for, and I can actually wish various CSOs like yourself can actually say, this is the model that would want to be domesticated in our own nation. Let's take a look example for the Africa Mining Vision, or those are regional provisions that we come upon with. If you actually see pushing them on your own, you cannot actually go far. But actually having building a strong coalition that is various people with various strengths, because you can actually see, I can say from a legal point of view, that is our strength. But we may not have the capacity to actually have that media presence to actually push and have that media presence. We cannot actually have the women, various expertise in other areas, even from the science perspective. So you actually see when coalitions are built, you can actually achieve more. And in terms of the funding, like does Africa have funding that is built on the given actually to men and women. I would say for now, I wouldn't want to respond to that because I'm not well versed in the agricultural matters. So I'll actually maybe I'll leave it to Agnes to actually respond to that.
Go ahead. You don't have another? Okay, let me start with the first question. We have, as Tafasa said, coalitions. We have coalitions. I don't know about Sudan. I need maybe to go to the internet to be able to learn the organizations that are there. And then you build networks, and then you build your own capacity. I don't know, because the experience that I have in Kenya is building of networks. And then, as I said, we have the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and then we build capacity, and depending on which organization does what, maybe there's one designated mainly to just build capacity of others, and then you call you for workshops or something and you train each other. Otherwise, even for us, I can only give you an example of Kenya, not Sudan. So I am really sorry about that. Maybe if you go to the internet, in your country, you will be able to know the organizations that work there.
Right. Also, I can just say there's PACJA, which is already also at COP22. We can actually use that network to actually build the linkages, which we can actually also use in Sudan as well.
Okay, if you can give me email address or something like that, I can collaborate it with you. And also a lot of information about situation of the civil society in Sudan. It is not like in the past. Now it is different. No, and it's not like Kenya, Uganda, but now it is a very critical situation for the civil society organization in there. But you can, I share with us and with you about how situation civil society in there, because I need link of human rights, climate justice, and gender issues and environment. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is the AFAWA. Maybe, the Congo and the countries in Africa that exercise farming and agriculture, because I am pastoralist. Pastoralist, you follow the cow, the goats, the camel that you saw there. So I would have no idea at all about then financing of women in agriculture. For us, you finance women to look after cows, to have more cows, take care of the cows. So yeah, that's what I can say. So I don't know whether anybody has okay, there's another question here.
Yeah.
Yes, you can, but she's coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Midhika from PACJA, Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance. I'm quite excited by the clarity of you said you are not the chair or the chair left.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what has captured my mind is the story about Kenya, the pastoralist community in Kenya from Turkana, who were dispossessed of their land. And they went to court, they mobilized resources, but ultimately they lost. To me, the case you are talking about, they lost the case because they were referred back to the same people who actually they have a problem with. I was excited by the ownership. There are communities mobilizing themselves, protesting and resisting and going to the level of even higher, whether it's pro bono lawyers. And so that's a very good case study of how organizing can do at a very local community before even those at international level come to look at them and see. It has been a case of very an interesting case for us, and I think we need to work together. Now, at that level you are talking about, the case was referred to the community. When I looked at the lawyers who who were hired by the company which was were dispossessing the community, and then compare them with the lawyers of the community who are in any case pro bono, then you look at the disparity, because it is very difficult, because those are top lawyers in Kenya. So you can see even the difficulty that community is facing, the chances of even winning the case, and even now of them winning. So I think what we need to do is, as somebody has mentioned, is to build these local national alliances. And the question which I have now is, how do we help that community? Their land is gone, and I'm not seeing them recovering that land after 90 days, which they talked about. But it is just a delaying tactic, because the county government will go and say this is it's not community, because the issue is that community land. Yes, it is. So suppose the county says it is our land, we hold this in trust. So it's very complicated. So we need to see, and actually that is one of the many cases of community dispossession, because these pastoralists are migratory. So you leave your land here, somebody comes and alienate that land because it looks vacant, but it is not. So I think we need really to look at that and how we are going to use those dynamics. It is happening not only in Kenya, not only in Turkana, not only in many countries, because of this climate-related investment. So climate is actually used now to exacerbate the problem, because these people want to make more and more investment. They don't care whether they do it on the bodies of people. So it's something which we can build alliances on with those who have spoken, and together we have started working with. Before we started this COP, we had a huge meeting of all national commissions, human rights institutions across the globe. Those are issues which were raised there. So we need to build alliances with them so that we can help these communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother.
I think, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for sitting with us. And I think if we can also have bilateral communications just after this. Thank you so much.
If anyone is interested in that link, I will be able, give me your email address. I will forward it to you. Thank you.
See you.